I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the David Douglas School Board. Will you join me in the flag salute?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just excited about the mics.
Yeah, it's exciting, new mics. Usually we start with our student body president's report. I don't see Anwar. Is there a fill-in for him? Nope. Okay, well, if he comes, we'll just slot him right in. Recognitions. It says student body president's report / recognition, so I thought I'd better ask because I never do. Okay, on to number 3, visiting delegations. We have Tom Muller from the David Douglas Music Program. Come on up.
Technology scares me to begin with.
We're all learning these new things.
So I just wanted to give kind of an update or a status report of where we are musically in the district. First of all, I do this every time. I mean it every time. I want to thank this body for your continuing support for music education. Having a comprehensive music education K-12 is not very common around here in our area. I'm constantly reminded when talking to directors from other districts of how much we have here. So I want to thank you and let you know that we feel incredibly supported by you. Our enrollment numbers in music continue to grow. As of yesterday's enrollment numbers from the teachers, we have 278 students currently enrolled in 5th grade band and orchestra across the district. We have 533 music students at Alisat, out of enrollment of 711, according to the district website. We have 553 music students at Floyd Light with the enrollment of 849. We have 541 music students at Ron Russell out of the enrollment of 861. That gives us a total number of music students at 1,627 students who are choosing to be part of that program. At David Douglas High School, we have 615 music students out of the enrollment of 2,991. We're still looking at ways to continue our retention, going from grades 8 to 9. That's been just a bit of an issue, but we still have a lot of students. Total number of students in music, including 5th grade band and orchestra, we have 2,520 students, but there's always room for more. I'd love to see that number grow to around 3,000. When you factor in the elementary general music program, we're servicing about 7,000 students out of our district. And again, this is not possible without the support of the school board, superintendent, administrators. So thank you for that. Next month, we will have 40 music students represent our district at the Oregon Music Education Association's All-State Convention. These students are going to be heading down to Eugene, where they'll rehearse with other students of their grade levels from across Oregon. They work with nationally and sometimes internationally recognized conductors. These students were selected out of groups of their peers. We will have 11 students in the 5th grade elementary honor choir. We will have 11 students in the various middle school ensembles, band, orchestra, choir, 2 choirs. We will have 18 students in the 4 high school ensembles. Along these lines, again, I want to thank our district for providing the funding for our teachers to go. This is a huge, huge benefit to our teachers. It costs quite a bit for a teacher to go down, and these teachers are required to be there so they can help monitor their students in case something arises. And we were able to get funding for that. And again, I really appreciate that. We're in the throes of our holiday concert season. As a matter of fact, as soon as I'm done here, I'm heading back across the way because there's a choir concert going on. And so we have, I've shared the calendar with Lori that shows all of our dates for the entire year. I invite you to come to any of these performances. They're a lot of fun to see. It's fun to watch these kids get up and perform and watch them to succeed and excel. This last Monday, our concert choir and the symphonic strings performed at the Grotto. Had a huge reception for it. They performed at a high level, represented the district, as always, incredibly well. Some of the feedback I've been getting is just saying it was one of their best performances ever. And it didn't rain or snow. The Troubadours are actually right now, I'm going to do a little solicitation here. They're competing with other choirs around the area for the K103 High School Choir Sing-Off. And if they're selected, they're going to go go in studio with other choirs, and they're going to perform. So it's all done by voting. And if you can go to their website, there's a link for it on the district Facebook page, or you can go directly to theirs. It's k103.iheart.com. Scroll all the way down, and it'll find the high school choir sing-off. You click on it, and then you go and find the Troubadours video, and then click that you're going to vote on it. It's basically whoever gets the most votes wins. So we'd love to see them do that. On Saturday, we're going to have, we start in the band program, we start our competitive season. We will have our league jazz contest over at Mount Hood. All three jazz bands are going to be going. And the Jazz 2, the top jazz band, is looking to once again qualify for the state jazz championships. That was last year was the first year of it, and they came in third. So the way it's set up is if they win league, they're the automatic qualifier for that. And then once we get back from winter vacation, we hit the ground running. We'll have contests and a lot of stuff at the high school. So do you have any questions for me?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I obviously really love the band a lot. Went to Shrek twice, the first showing to see the band. And I am really appreciative of all the music programs. My older child participated in orchestra, and it's really nice that they have this opportunity to start in 5th grade and move all the way through and stick with it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you very much.
One comment.
Oh, sure.
I have 2 that are now in 2nd grade, and by the time they were in 1st grade, they knew what the names of all the notes. They know what a treble clef and a bass clef is. They know how to count beats. They're learning the names of all the notes. It's just really impressive. And this is without me having to pay for any lessons. So it's just amazing. And I think it also it's coordinated with math as well, and just really impressive.
Thank you.
Just real quick, I want to recognize and thank you for your leadership and what you do, and really expand that to all of our music teachers for what they're doing, their heart and their soul, their belief in kids. And we are a fortunate district, like you said, because of the commitment, but a lot of that comes from you and, again, our teachers and what they do every day with our kids. And if you don't mind, we for those on the board who don't know, we have another Mueller in the district, and I believe she's serving right now on a national board. Is that
she
right?
Is. Yeah, so my wife, Jennifer, she is she's on a national committee of all music programs. It's the parent group of OSAA. It's NFHS, National Federation of High Schools, and she serves on their national committee, and she's the chair of that. So she's been representing the district on a national level. She's been fortunate enough to attend some all states, and honestly, the session that she does is about David Douglas. She talks about how to have a top flight music program in a highly diverse area, part of the city, low socioeconomic, all of that. That it just doesn't matter. That it's all about the kids, and if you teach them how to succeed, they're going to succeed regardless of where they live. And it's been pretty awesome to see the feedback for that, and yeah, it's definitely been a splash on the national level. Most recently, she presented at the national convention for National Association for Music Education, and spoke with teachers from all over the country, music teachers from all over the country, about what we do here. So, thank you.
And I asked Christine if I could introduce the next here a little bit. And just real quick for the board members, I've had conversations with each one of you and kind of communicated my intent and hope that, or effort to try to once a month have schools come and do some sort of presentation. That will include parents, include kids, include administrators. And we've been waiting a little bit, trying to get it off the road or off the ground, and kind of thought, well, and I talked to Christine and Frida, let's try it this month. So I sent a quick email out, and when I sent that email out expecting, maybe we'll start in January, but I had an administrator that said, you know what, we're ready, let's go. So we put that together, and I am now going to surprise a little bit and just put him on the spot, just because I think he might be fun and like it. I'm going to ask Andy if he wants to introduce our guests this evening.
Thank you. All right, it is my pleasure to introduce, under the direction of Ms. Tu Trong, the Ron Russell Middle School FLT, or Family Leadership Team. Let's give her a hand. Thank you. Yeah, there we go. Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, you can pull some chairs up.
Hi everyone, I'm Tu. Thank you for the introduction. I am just one of the members of the family leadership team, probably the least important one, because the most important ones are right here. I'll have them introduce themselves and I will run the technology for tonight.
Hooray. I'm Sally Bowman, and, okay, where am I? Here I am. I've been a part of Ron Russell for 2 years now. My son is in 8th grade this year, and I also have a son in the 6th grade. And I have 2 more that are at Arthur Academy that aren't going to be there for a few more years. But last year we decided that we wanted to have family group with the son coordinated. They said, let's have a family leadership team, and we didn't know what it was. So the first meeting there was only 3 of us. And I was the only one who only spoke English. Everybody else spoke a different language. So it was a little bit of a culture shock for me, because how do you talk to people that don't understand you, you know? And we had translation, which was amazing. It was the best thing that's ever happened to me. So having that has made it so important. I mean, just in our group to be able to communicate with each other is huge. And then thinking as a parent that there are other parents who might not speak my language, but it's the primary language spoken on all of the papers that you get at home, on all of the information you get from your teachers. And well, I'll let everybody else introduce themselves, but we have a few things that we did with that that was really impressive, I thought, with our group.
Hello, my name is Amal Ahmed. I'm also a parent at Ron Russell Middle School for 4 years now. I have my 3rd child there right now. She's a 7th grader. And I've been part of the group ever since it was started.
My name is Adriana Gobea, and my son is in the 2nd year in middle school, and for me it's very important. The group is started in spring in 2017, and it's the 2nd year, and I'm very excited and ready to go. And thank you for the opportunity to come and share the experience. And this is no stop right here. I would like to involve more parents and more community to work into the kids in the school.
Hello, my name is Anthony Zafra. I'm the Sunsite Manager at Ron Russell Middle School. I'm entering my 2nd year, and I wouldn't have any other more. Entering my 2nd year with relationship with our families, having our family leadership team up and running by now, and of course our wonderful principal coming in and not hitting the stop pedal, but hitting the gas pedal and continuing with us and thriving with our families. So we're really excited to just display what we have been going on at Ron Russell Middle School, and I'll go ahead and let Tu start it off.
So, again, this is our family leadership team. Here is a photo of some of us, not all of us, and each time they join, others can't make it. It's a fluid team, but everyone feels like they just fit right in and then pick right up on the stuff.
when I started Spanish, and I did not. And I don't know if you've ever been a minority before when you're white in Oregon. It's really not something you experience regularly, and for me that was a big culture shock. But after that point, I was like, I have to learn Spanish. This is very important to me because I wanted to know what everyone was saying, right? I wanted to be able to interact, and I wanted to be able to understand what their problems were so that I could help address them, you know, so they could help me understand what everybody needed. And one of the most important things was being able to communicate with the school. And so Parent View is how our whole district interacts with the teachers. And there were a lot of parents who didn't use it because they didn't know how to access it, and it wasn't in their language. And so that was one of the things that we talked about in our group and discussed, hey, how can we make this something that all of us at our school can use? Even the English-speaking parents didn't necessarily use it because they didn't know how to use the technology. So we started with, you know, going into groups and talking about how can we do different things, and then we all got together and, you know, collaborated. And it's hard to have a small group when 3 of you speak one language and 1 of you speaks another, and you're working together like that. But we have a really strong relationship. Everybody in our group really wants the best for our kids, and we want everybody to understand each other. And so with Parent View, being able to communicate with your school and with your teachers, we needed something. We needed something there. And that's where we came up with, as a group, like being able to access Parent View in different languages, and these wonderful, wonderful ladies help translate that.
And the parent,
Go ahead.
the family, when it's gray, is at the spring, and it's start working. And the first time, it's only a couple parents. I see more interest. But the more important is when it's translate, I think it's a big difference for the family, because a lot of families no understand what is this and everything. And it's coming next is one of the trainings or meeting, I don't know, is the API is coming in training for anti-bullying. And for my perspective, I'm parents, and I'm worrying for my kids. It's very important because right now everything I say is bullying. Excuse me, you need to understand what is bullying before. And when I'm very excited, and it's in February 8th, and I told a lot of parents, this is a meeting you start putting in your calendar, and because that one is very important to go and be more prepared and more informed for your family, and more important for your kids. And I think my part is done. I would like to say thank you for opening this opportunity to come and share. And thank you because I'm boarding when the first time Ms. Lone is lead to the school, and I say, what is the next principal? I'm very nervous because I worry for my kids, and thank you for choose Ms. Strom, and is wonderful person. And I have only 2 kids, and it's go to Oro Boyos and Ron Russell, and I would like to say thank you because it's the best principal I have.
Thank you again for giving us the opportunity to come over tonight and share our thoughts with you. Again, I also would like to thank Mr. Long for introducing the Family Leadership Program to us, and for you continuing, like Anthony and the rest of us already expressed. So when we did the Parent View program, it was already existing, but it looked almost as if most of the families were not accessing, and that was an input from mainly all of us from talking to our friends and people we work with. For example, especially me, I work at Human Solutions and in a low-income apartment complexes, and all the families mainly speak Somali or Eastern European, Russian or Moldovan, but they don't access it. And especially for my community is that, it's a young community that English is really difficult for us because most of us did not go to school, and they didn't know how to read and write or even go to the computer to just, access parent view. And with our principal's help, we were able to work with David Douglas School District IT to create a video tutorial in English, and our principal transcribed it in video, and it got translated in 3 different languages: Somali, Spanish, and Vietnamese. And also the tutorial was also in English as well. And we provided a workshop at the library. Was it the open house?
Yes.
Yeah, at the open house, and a lot of families were able to come work with us, and we helped them set up parent view for them, and they were able to see their children's grades and how they were doing, and also we introduced them that they could download the app on their phone and work with.
Yes, and along with what Amal was sharing that, at our back to school night, we did a little come in and activate their parent view account. We also had hands-on help in the library with our family leadership team, parents volunteering their time during back to school night to come in and help activate the parent view. We had volunteers that can help translate in Spanish, Somali, Vietnamese for families and community members who come in who need that one-on-one guidance. And for example, we have them up there in the projector. And another thing is we also shared it on our website. So if school night, they had the opportunity to see it on our website.
Did you see that little pop-up of the instructions on how to activate your parent view account? There were lots and lots of words on there, and very few visuals. So I'm so thankful for my team for coming up with the idea, for seeing the need, and then doing something about it. So these pictures are actually from our back to school night, volunteering and standing out there saying, hey, have you signed up for Parent View? Let me help you, and like literally pull them in and sit them down and sign them in and help activate. So this is what Adriana was talking about earlier, is that our work is not done. The activities or our focus is based on what parents have asked for, and it actually came from the Site Council Parent Survey that was done from last year. So next on our to-do list, she was talking about, the topic of cyberbullying and bullying and
Thank you. Is there any questions or comments from board members?
I'd just like to make a comment. Many of you don't know, I've known Adriana for quite a few years, and she's quite a leader in our district. Even though she works on her English and Spanish is her main language, she has been representing David Douglas at the state, at city levels, and everything, testifying for us, as well as being an active member in East Portland Action Plan civic engagement. When you talk about being the only English speaker in the group, I'm one of the few in that group. We have Arabic, Spanish, Russian. It varies depending on week, but she's done a marvelous job in actually spearheading getting community health worker training in the Oro Boils areas and stuff, and done quite a bit for that community. And I just felt she should be recognized.
Very, very impressive. And I'm wondering if there's a way to share those videos with the rest of the middle schools and the other schools that we have, because I know many parents are struggling with the same thing. I know it was on the district website, but do you communicate with the other principals? Yeah, beautiful. Excellent work.
So I want to recognize and thank too, and for your leadership and volunteering, and basically more than volunteering, we will be there. Is kind of what she told me. And more importantly, I want to recognize each one of our parents and thank you so much for your leadership, for sharing your students with us every day. We are so thankful, and again, just echoing amazing work. Thank you, and I look forward to what's next. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, visiting, is there a sign-in sheet? Okay, just a reminder, there's a little box there on the table. The green light's on for, I think, 2.5 minutes. Is that 3? Well, the green light's on for 2.5, right? And then it turns yellow for the last 30 seconds, and then it turns red, and then if you're really over, it starts blinking at you. So just so you know. Okay, first up, Sally Bowman from Ron Russell. And you already talked, so I will mark you off. Okay, Heather Franklin. Welcome.
Hi. Oh, this is new too.
Yeah.
So I wanted to invite school board members to one of the food pantries on Wednesdays at Gilbert Park from 6 to 7:30. I volunteer at the food pantry. And before I get into it, I wanted to really thank the district for offering that space. I know that each space is partnered with a different organization. Ours, we're partnered with ERCO. And it's really cool. I mean, we show up, there's a group of us that volunteer on a regular basis. Most of us are moms. And we show up about 4:30 and we're out of there about 8:30. And from 6 to 7:30, we have about 50 to 60 families that come through each week. Mm-hmm. And I think the high school actually serves more like 200, which is really cool too. And I hope to volunteer or visit one of these days. And I think they are ran almost entirely by students. I think it's really cool. At our site, we have a volunteer that provides childcare on a weekly basis, which is really a good benefit because we're all moms and we show up with a mess of kids. But that's one of the reasons I want to invite folks to come visit us and maybe visit some of the other locations too, to see kind of, come shop with us, come get your, food for the week. But also just to see like where we could improve upon, because it's really a cool way that we're serving the community, I think, in the district and building community. We have people from all kinds of people coming. And I think I'm the only volunteer that's just speaks one language. All the other volunteers serve the community in such a cool way because they're able to speak to people in their home languages at the site. Oregon Food Bank's there almost every week serving hot food and teaching people meals that they can cook with the food that's on site. So like yesterday they were making blue corn pancakes, and the recipe was right there. You could take it home. Zinger Farm is there at our site a lot, doing giving out resources that people can take home. It's really kind of a really special thing that happens every week. But I think it would be really neat if some school board members came through, just to see how it functions, and also if we could provide childcare at all sites. I think that would really improve upon the model that's there now. Like I said, we have a volunteer, one guy, he takes care of our kids in the library while we're doing our work. But I think that the other sites, that's not consistently happening, and it puts a limitation on how much we can serve the community. Anyway, I think that's all I wanted to say about it. But yeah, so we're Wednesdays 6 to 7:30, and then all the other sites have varying hours. And so maybe you can come through, and if you want to reach out to me, I guess I could follow up with an email if that's helpful, or connect you with our coordinator.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Just a follow on that. It's kind of interesting. Each one of the schools kind of has their own food pantry, and it would be kind of good to have some sort of meeting once a year of what's really working well, so that it can be used at all. And there's a lot of things we do like that, where like Menlo Park has a really cool International Food Night where everybody cooks their dish and brings it in, and they have a big giant potluck. There's a lot of things that I think, especially on the elementary level, our schools are doing. And the really cool stuff, it would be nice if we shared it more, and everybody gave everybody ideas of what was really awesome at their school, so they could implement it at every school. Right?
Madam Chair, I have a question. Oh, Heather, I have a question. How is this related to, or is it related to the Giving Tree?
Ours at least is co-coordinated. So the Giving Tree is happening on the 16th, I think is when it goes out, and it'll be like half the gym will be dedicated to the Giving Tree. So the same folks are coordinating the Giving Tree as the work in the food pantry. Yeah. And then the food baskets that go out over the holidays. So we're down over the break, but they'll still be the big packages that go out. And then also, one thing that we have that I don't think all sites have is we're partnered with Urban Gleaners too. So they'll still serve over the break, but the main food pantry won't be open. So it's another difference that's happening there.
Yeah, so the Giving Tree is just obviously during the holiday.
Yeah, it's just seasonal.
Yeah, where the one you're talking about is ongoing.
Every week, even over the summer. We had different hours over the summer. So I think we were like noon to 2 during the summertime hours, but we're after school and after sun shuts down. Our hours right now.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else? Alrighty. That is the last attendee input. So we're ready for the auditor's report, and Pat is going to lead us in that. You're going to introduce the auditors.
I'm going to introduce our auditor, Hannah. Hannah with Polly Rogers. They've been with us for a little while. I don't know how long. And Paul Robman, I want to recognize in the back, the accounting supervisor who put this all together for me. Thank you, as I was dealing with other issues. And Hannah audited his work and made sure that we got everything in there correctly. So I'm going to turn it over to her.
Thank you, Pat. Hello, my name is Hannah Surplus. I am the team manager in charge of the David Douglas School District Financial Statement Audit. Roy sends his regards, and he could not make it tonight. I think last year we even had to call in because of the snow, so happy to be here in person this year. I know you all have a busy and full agenda, so I don't plan on taking up much of your time. Thankfully, the audit is a very clean audit and a clean report, so I don't really have much to talk about. I'll first go over the highlights of the governing body communication letter. Then the audit results, briefly discuss new items, and then can answer any questions. If you'll please turn your attention to the governing body letter. The letter goes over the responsibility as the auditors, as well as the responsibility of management. If there were any difficulties or disagreements with management, which we're happy to say there were none, as well as our best practices and a few other miscellaneous items. On page 1 of the letter, you'll see 3 bullet points under the purpose of the audit section. These essentially are the 3 different types of audits that we conducted and reported on. The first being the GAP standards, the second being the Oregon minimum standards, and then the third being the federal regulation of the expenditures of federal awards. On page 2 of the letter, you'll see the section for the results of the audit. We're happy to say that we have issued an unmodified opinion, have found no exceptions with issues with the state minimum standards or financial awards, and did not need to issue a management letter. All of this means it's a clean audit and everything looks good. On page 4, you'll see our best practices listed out. Basically, these are our suggestions on behalf of the firm. They are not negative remarks or anything that we found wrong, but items that we want management and the board to be aware of from year to year. It's impossible to have everything perfect, and we're aware of that. However, David Douglas Management does a very good job of creating compensating controls to help mitigate risk, and these are just items that we want everyone to consider from year to year. Overall, like I said a few moments ago, it's a very clean audit. Management team has done a great job. We ask for a lot of information during the couple of weeks that we visit during the year. And so we're happy to work with all of them, and we've had no problems. Everyone's very helpful. And then, of course, this is not just any normal financial report. It's a comprehensive financial report. So a lot of work goes into creating the report as well as providing us all the information. So Pat and Paul and everyone else in the management office does a great job helping conduct the whole process and move along and get everything issued. Overall, everything looks clean. I don't really have much else to say. I'll wrap up with a couple additional comments that you probably won't really care much about, but there's a couple of GASB statements. GASB 68, which is in regards to PERS, that came out a couple years ago. That's kind of everyone's headache. There's a few additional note disclosures, making the note disclosures for the PERS section even longer. So there's that in there to read. I know you read it word for word. And then GASB 75 is for the OPEBs, other post-employment benefits. Those, I think that was implemented last year, if I believe correct. Those are going to be adding even more notes to the note disclosure section, making the report even longer. Overall, again, everything looked clean, and I don't have much to say, so I'm not up here for very long. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, Pat and Paul know how to get in contact with us.
Does anybody have any questions?
This would be more directed at Ken because of the ESD. I know this has been lacking every year at the ESD. Do you see any, now that there's been kind of a change over there, do you see a possibility of maybe this being addressed so we can get off our statement? You or Pat, I figured one of you.
Yeah, so I don't know, and that's just the honest answer, because I haven't had the conversation with the new superintendent. So what you're referring to is there's a new superintendent. What I do know is he's a strong leader, a great partner, and if we bring this to his attention and have the conversation, my recollection of it, though, is it's a pretty steep curve to fix. Am I wrong there, Pat?
Well, this is regarding some additional coverage, I believe, insurance coverage, because they handle data.
Yeah,
for us.
I believe so.
And so they are actually looking at additional policies that will help cover all the districts that they provide that service to. And so I believe that they're still trying to figure out or get some rates on that. So I'm expecting anything or something from them anytime now, hopefully within the next few months by budget. So.
Okay, good.
Again, he's been very responsive.
Oh, I understand that, and I know what our history was with the ESD. So,
Well, and if it's on ours, it's on every other school district that uses it.
It is. We see it on all districts that deal with the ESDs, and there's no ESD that we've seen that really does coverage. So if you get any breakthrough, please let us know what you did to have that happen.
So I just want to quickly say thank you very much, and for the board to recognize Pat and her team. Obviously, the Clean Bill of Health has a lot to do with her leadership and the work. And I'd like to ask Pat if she'd take 10 seconds and possibly introduce Paul. I know he's back there, just in case people don't know him, because I know he puts a lot of effort into this as well.
Paul puts a lot of hours and sweat and pulling out of his hair. Especially with the new GASB statements, which are very easy to read and user-friendly.
So,
right, Hannah?
Yes.
So all of you got emailed a link to our CAFR, and it's available on the district website if anybody's curious. It is a basically 200-page document. There is a lot of information in here. If you have time to just take a peek, I would look at the statistical section because it has a lot of information on demographics and that sort of thing on student. It's got student ratios, teacher ratios, all sorts of things, property taxes. That's probably the most interesting section. That's what kind of sets our comprehensive financial report aside from just regular financial reports. So.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to move number 7 up so that our staff members that are on the audience, we can do what we need to do there, which is very exciting. And this is ratification of collective bargaining agreement between David Douglas School District and OSEA Chapter 40. It runs July 1, 2017 to June 30th, 2021. Candy will be the presenter.
I will, thank you. So before you tonight is an action item for your consideration, and it is the ratification of collective bargaining agreement between David Douglas School District and the OSEA Chapter 40. A little bit of background. We started bargaining with that group back about 5 months ago, a little over 5 months ago. And after a whole lot of work and a whole lot of time on both parties, we reached a tentative agreement. Very excited about that back on November 6th. This evening, I would like to recognize a few of the folks on both teams because they all have been there every time and put in a ton of work. And I know many of the OSEA team is, not all, but many of them are here. So maybe when I say your name, if you can just give a wave. So Hal Meyerdirk, who is the OSEA representative. We have Melissa Reeves. Michael Hilton, I don't believe he's here this evening, no. Darla Black. And Kathy Lauterbeck. Did she go? Oh, I just didn't see that. Sorry, Kathy. Elaine Little. Heidi Wilson. There she is. And Becky Greer. So I do want to publicly thank that group and just let everyone know what a professional and collaborative, hardworking group to work with. Throughout this process, it just was clear that they're dedicated to this district and that they are committed to doing what's best for kids. So thank you so much. I also want to, oh, go ahead, yeah. I would also like to recognize some of the folks on our team. So we have board members Anderson and Christopher. Thank you for your time. Superintendent Richardson was also a part of the district team. Pat Comar, our business manager. And then someone who we don't usually see a whole lot of, but is definitely behind the scenes, is our our HR manager, Darcy Powers, and she's out in the audience today. If you can give a wave. Darcy was the one, truly the backbone that just kept us all going forward and made it an organized and smooth process. And talk about hours, a lot of time was put on there. So the great news is that I was notified last week that the classified members overwhelmingly voted to support and to pass the contract. So that is awesome. So I'm excited to share with you tonight a contract that is solid and that is beneficial to our employees. So with that, Madam Chair, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay. We have before us a contract for our OSEA representative staff. I need a motion to approve.
I'd like to move to approve this contract. I was very pleased to work on it. And so I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the contract with OSEA Chapter 40 from July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2021.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. It's open for discussion.
I'd just like to make some comments more than discussion. Is when Don Gardner and Cheryl Scarcelli were no longer on the board, I kind of got elected to help out with classified bargaining, and it's been a few years since I've bargained with classified, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I have to agree with Candy. It was very professional. Did we always agree? No, and I think that's part of bargaining. It's a little give and take on both sides. But having known some of the people personally, too, it kind of makes it kind of nice because you feel like you're bargaining with friends and not just a union. To me, they're friends that I've known for a while. So anyway, I was very pleased at the outcome of the bargaining.
I'd like to say thank you as well to Candy for her work. And because this process had started before I was on the board, I'm pretty sure that in 2 years when they have the reopener, I'll probably be talking to a lot of you and joining the conversation. Look forward to that.
Andrea?
Yes. So a couple of things. I'm excited that this contract is before us. I am a firm believer in bargaining and coming to the table collaboratively, and it sounds like that was the case here. And so I'm really looking forward to continuing to get to know you all more and learning how it goes. I also just wanted to share a couple of things just for transparency purposes for the contract. I have a couple new members in my household who recently joined the district. My mom is a new interpreter in the district, and my stepdad is a new custodian. And so they are both really excited, and I heard good things from them as well from folks. So again, I am happy to see that this is before us. So thank you, everyone, for your work.
Well, one, I guess to also share transparency-wise, for those that don't know, I think most do. I have a member of my household that's a member of this bargaining unit also. But separately from that, having not been on the bargaining group, I do just want to share that I do believe, and I guess I'll say it this way, I can't say enough of the work that the people that we bargained with do. They are as much a part of this district as any other aspect, and the care that they provide for the students of this community.
Bryce, do you have anything?
I don't have a member of my household that's a member of. But speaking for my household, my wife and I, over the many years that we've been in the school district and sent 6 kids to the district, I'd like to say that, and I know some of our kids are your kids' friends, and thank you for all you do and in helping to raise our family.
So, yeah, I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just real quick, I stole the thunder. I was going to thank Candy. I was going to thank the classified employees. So with all that said, I do have to just real quick. Obviously the team, thank you. Also everyone you represent, thank you. First faces they see, we talk about it all the time when they get on the bus, or our classified employees. Our classified employees are feeding, our classified employees are taking a fare. So truly thank you for all you do to help them. And then the last one, just real quick, thank the board for the leadership, providing us parameters, giving us trust to work through and bargain. It helps a lot knowing expectations and what we're doing. So it makes Candy's job easier if I speak for her. So thank the board as well. Thank you.
Okay, and I would like to also thank the classified staff, and I would like to recognize that many of our classified staff members, a good number of them, live in our district. There are more than just our work family, there are community members, and so I really appreciate that because, you know, sometimes I bumped into somebody at the grocery store, and it's nice to see faces that you know and feel like it makes us feel more like a family, I think. So I'm really appreciative of that and all of the stuff that you guys do. So with that, anybody else want to say anything? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and call for the vote. You ready? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion passed. Okay, we're going to take a brief recess. I think we have a whole bunch of documents to sign. saying something?
We would just like to thank the bargaining team, Ken, Candy, Pat, Darcy, Frida, and Bryce. We appreciate the time and work that took to reach the agreement on what we feel is a fair and respectful contract that we are proud to share with our members. So I just really appreciate all of you and your effort that went into this, and thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now that we've had our signing, we're ready for superintendent's report.
Great, thank you very much. Real quick, I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to introduce another guest this evening. For those board members, all of you are aware, we had the opportunity to work with the MESD and partner with our East County schools and hire a government affairs specialist. This is a little last minute, her being here. That's why she's coming during superintendent's report. But she had a previous board meeting that got canceled. Something happened. Anyway, she was free. So I did invite her, so at least we can build that connection and introduce her and work with her a little bit and kind of move forward. So with that said, I'd like to invite and introduce Stacy Michelson up to the microphone. And we know it's going to be brief, but I did want to introduce and obviously open it up to any questions or any kind of welcome you have, board. And obviously, if you have a couple words, that's fine, Stacy.
Sure. I was just going to say it's nice to meet all of you, as distant as this may be. But just sort of a quick overview of my background. So, I've been lobbying for the last 7 or 8 years now, primarily within the health and human services world. But I had started out thinking that I wanted to work in K-12 policy, and did a brief stint at the Chalkboard Project right after serving as legislative staff back in 2009. So and I've bounced around various organizations within health and human services, but that's kind of been my path. And part of what really appealed to me about this position, not only getting to work with all of the districts, but particularly at MESD, getting that opportunity to kind of bridge that gap between education and some of the healthcare services. So open to any questions, or I'm sure we'll be working together more in the future, and Ken can share with you some of the governing agreements that we've discussed and I think are going to talk about at our the next Superintendent's Council meeting on Friday.
Okay.
Any questions or any?
I did go to a session at the OSBA conference given by the person at Beaverton that you probably know.
David's great.
Yeah, and so it was really informational. I learned a lot in that. So evidently, those form letters that they keep sending us to send to people don't really mean anything anymore, and we have to write a personal story if we want a legislator
not
to
unless
really
you get enough of them.
Yeah, so that was the big takeaway for me, is that if I really wanted something done, I better write a real heartfelt letter and give a personal story or something, and not just send an email that is a form letter kind of thing. So
that's true.
Anyways, Stephanie, did you?
No, yeah, just community engagement is a big thing for me, and since the board members are the direct link to the community and I'm big on advocacy, let us know if there are things that we can do to help get the message out around whatever the legislative priorities are.
Absolutely. You guys will be part of the process.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being here this evening. Really appreciate your time and look forward to working with you in the future.
Sure.
All right.
Happy to come back anytime.
Great. Thank you. Okay, I will be brief, but a few things I do want to share. Number one, if Derek can drive for me, if that's okay. We've had a request from the community last month and maybe even previous to that about board follow-up, and if we receive questions and the way our policy reads and the idea during testimony, there's not necessarily a response, but what does it look like? And we've put into place a test, not quite running yet, but wanted to give the board an idea of what we've come up with as a thought. And then obviously we can talk about input and kind of go from there. But ultimately we're looking for another banner that will be board communication. And Derek, if he scrolls down, or I don't know where we're at, actually, so you could find it under school board. We're actually going to have it at the bottom of this page. Whoops. There it is. Under, you can see, you can't really see, but under community, there'll be a banner there that talks about community response as well. And then when you click on the school board, what it will look like, if you go, there you go, board communication, and then Derek's So the next page. So when you click on it and click on it, and if we go one more, a banner there as well. And any one of them will take them to that page, which will then lead here. And obviously right now it's kind of beta. We haven't fleshed it out yet. Some of this came from input from board members, different board members emailing, what if we did this? What if we did that? So again, at this point, all we've done is mock something up for a quick review. And obviously, if you want to follow up with me with email thoughts, or right now, if you have any ideas, great. Otherwise, we will continue moving forward with it, get it active, and start the process.
I just have a process question, which is, I mean, it's great to sort of go back a few months and look through kind of the questions from the community and figure out how we might want to respond. And I believe that our communication needs to go through the chair. So what is the process that we'll go through to do that, to help you? We as a team, all of us, right?
So what we were thinking, because although many of the questions are to the board, it is through operations of the district. So what we were thinking, if the board's okay, is we can draft and obviously make sure it goes before the chair board. But I've already had a conversation with our communications director, Mr. McHugh, and kind of as we were playing with this and working with it, we sat down and met, and kind of that's how we were thinking we'd start it. Obviously, if there's something that just directly is not like district, and obviously the difference between board and district and superintendent, then we would probably have to defer to the board. But a lot of the questions I think really come under the scope of business, so we could at least draft what we know, and then the board could add to and go from there.
Yeah.
Did you want to say something?
Yeah, it's just, they would draft something and I would review it and say, yeah, that looks good, or add these things or take these things away, or.
Is there any way that other board members can just put our eyes on it before it goes out, just to look? And
yeah, I think basically I could send it to all board members in communication. I mean, it would just go out like I do with goes to all of you. Yeah.
Can I make a comment on that? I don't have a problem with that, but I know from very large experience with many groups and communities, and our board's no different, we're all busy, is that if you do it that way, then make sure there's a deadline, and the assumption is you're okay with it if you don't respond to it, because otherwise you're doing a lot of follow-up we don't want you to have to do. Stuff. I was going to make a suggestion, just a thought on, if you go back to the first place, because this is where the communications are going to be, right? The meat. That
was the idea.
Okay, but when people go to the site, they end up on the home page, and it might be nice down here somewhere to have kind of a little post that takes them to it. Like each month when you're putting a new one up.
Yeah.
Something that would, because otherwise a few people might know to go to communications, but others won't.
So the very bottom will always have a link, but in the banner, what we talked about is that picture or banner. After a board meeting, we could follow up with one of the banner items as a click. So there'll be multiple ways to get there, but following each board meeting, it could be in the banner place, like where that parent view.
Yeah, wherever. I was just thinking with the front page, make sure it links so they can see it. And from what I understood of a lot of the questions, it was similar. What was happening with our dress code? It was more those kind of communications that were running, where we were at that after the questions were brought up, and because we are in a process in the district on those things. And so those were kind of some of the information things I was thinking they were asking for.
And then, of course, having heard the difficulty of folks just even accessing Parent View, which folks have a real vested interest in finding out, what's going on with their kids. There's an ongoing question for me about how we're ensuring that there's a link between all these multilingual communities and the folks who are the link, right, to the community at the policy level. So I just, maybe as we start thinking about the equity committee or some of that, I understand we can't do everything all at once, but this is for English speakers. So
doesn't it translate? Yeah, I thought we had a translation in it.
Is it a good one? because
The best
there's
you can get.
Somali doesn't. You don't want to read the Somali.
I would also add, I think this is a really good starting point, and I'm looking forward to kind of seeing what it looks like. And I do agree that being able to translate out would be helpful. And I'm also just thinking about students, and so if there are ways that we could potentially even be tweeting or just kind of showing through social media that, hey, you know, we have, you know, something else that posted, check it out here, and just kind of be clear that this type of information is available on multiple platforms for multiple different types of users, to kind of get at the fact that, you know, some may not kind of go through the weeds of the website, but if I'm a student, I might be on my phone more, or maybe would want to hear even the student report in the report back, or just to kind of hear from that perspective. So that would just be something to consider. I know it's a lot at once.
So the recent tweets show up in this blue field down here, so we could tweet out. Yeah.
Little bit of a work in progress, but that is the conversation we had. We talked about Facebook, we talked about Twitter, post kind of like we would do with other communications. It would post through all of those. So anyway, one step at a time, we'll get it rolling, and then we'll develop it and improve it from there.
Great. Is there anything that we are prepared to sort of talk about tonight in terms of reporting out, like on where we are with processes, so that people don't have to wait to read it a couple months from now?
I have not prepared anything,
Okay.
but I'm happy to follow up on anything if you have anything specific.
Oh, well, just, you know, where are we with the dress code? You know, I know, but maybe folks are watching online or will want to watch later. Like, what's the process? You'd sent something out, but.
Yeah. So what I sent to the board is our follow-up around the dress code and our process and steps we're planning to take. We've are engaging with OSBA around a facilitator, and our plan is basically to work with that facilitator to put together focus groups, ultimately to get input from 3 groups, really, our staff, our parents, and our students, and not necessarily in that order, but that's kind of what we're looking at, is really our parents, guardians, community, students, and then our staff, all 3 looking at what is the input based on our dress codes and where we're at. So we did a parent guardian survey for the entire district, and we included a couple dress code questions in that, but those were very limited. It was just a basic kind of test, and the intent is probably to put together another survey just around dress code to start the conversation, and then put together some focus groups and community groups and get together with our parents and families and to start having some conversations. So you bet. Okay, I'm going to keep moving, but please don't hesitate to stop me here. So I would like to thank the high school, and I don't know if any board member would like to volunteer to hold up their shirt. We talked about this last, what's a race? Last month, but every board member does have a DDHS United along with a DDHS United bracelet. And again, I would like to thank the high school for getting those to us and following through. Really appreciate that. A couple other things, big list here, but I'm going to kind of reduce it a little bit. One is not very good news, unfortunately, but I do want to share. We did get notification this week about the possible PERS increases. Those are not final yet. It's statewide. You probably saw the news if you're following it all. But the impact to our district, it looks like right now, and this is just a guess to be quite honest, or an educated guess, would be about 6.64% increase for our Tier 1, Tier 2, and somewhere in that range for OSERP. Again, right now it's real early, to be quite honest, but that is significant, and we'll be following that every day, to be quite honest, as we go forward. Also want to recognize and thank and invite the board. We heard a little bit about giving trees. All of our schools have some sort of giving tree, but I also want to recognize that our district office has a giving tree, and we have a family that we are currently working with, and for our board members, still taking items. We're looking for anything around cleaning supplies, gift cards for groceries, movie passes, gift cards for Old Navy for older children. This family might have a student that is into Nintendo Switch Pro, and that might also have another student that is into Netflix. So anyway, just an invite to the board, obviously. And the final thing, I just want to take, and again, I know to be short here, but I want to take the opportunity just to read a couple exciting stories. So Cherry Park, each month you guys, the board members, know that I get feedback and input on different things happening. And just a few exciting things that happened this month. At Cherry Park, Portland Tyco came for an assembly, and I can tell you the students were completely engaged with the drumming, storytelling, and history of this Japanese art. Just exciting. We also had at Cherry Park teacher Max and Principal Kate presented at the Early Childhood Conference on their preschool LEAP model, again recognized throughout the state, so it's really exciting to know that they're being asked to recognize. Earl Boyles shared a little bit, and I know that Erica's in the audience. 99% of their families attended conferences, and that doesn't just happen. So thanks to the leadership, and I'm sure she would be first to thank the parent leadership group as well for what they do to get that. So exciting. She also shared about, and some of you seen a little bit, but Rob Manning and his colleagues at OPB put together a video from their visit to the STEAM Fair last spring, and he's planning on featuring at least a few class 2025 students in our program with class 2025 who haven't appeared much. So excited about that. What else? I have so much, you guys, so I'll be quick. Due to the significant efforts of implementing community circles at Gilbert Heights, as well as to teach consistent lessons to all students about kindness, bullying prevention, and zones of regulation, they are seeing a huge decrease in the amount of major referrals in all areas. So again, very excited about that work and what they're doing. Their site council election was held during parent conferences in the computer lab, and also they set up the computer lab for parent surveys, they reported. At Gilbert Park, sounds like, and you might know more about this than I do, they held an all-school Native American assembly on Monday, November 6th, and it featured drum performances, traditional clothing, and education to our students regarding the month of November being Native American Heritage Month. They also held a Slavic parent meeting prior to the general PTA meeting, and again, all of our schools have and I'll just go to one more here. At Menlo Park, and working with the partnership with the American Diabetes Association, they had an amazing kickoff assembly with special guests, Trailblazer Evan Turner from the Portland Trailblazers, and their mutual goal are to motivate children to eat healthy and to get more exercise. Our school CATCH, Coordinated Approach to Child Health team, did an amazing job of organizing a fun, energizing. And I learned a little bit here, describe different types of foods. You got go, you got slow, and you got whoa. So anyway, so there's so much more. Whoa, I don't want to know. Are they? Okay. So, in one other we had, there's a video on our Facebook, last one. At Cherry Park also we had a Trailblazer come, and that one was more about childhood obesity and talked about diet and garden and childhood obesity. It's a great video. If you haven't been on our webpage or Facebook page, it's very interesting. So I'll cut it short there, and I'll make sure to email this out to the entire board.
I'd like to just make one comment about the community circles at Gilbert Heights. I'm been working every week there in my granddaughter's class, and I have the opportunity to be there first thing in the morning with their community circles. And one thing I noticed in the class, because when they do it, it's actually a calming effect on the class. It seems the class, they go right into reading, and everybody's ready to do it. You don't see kids fooling around, so it kind of has a calming effect having that community circle as well on the classroom.
Great. All right. Any other comments? Okay. On to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as outlined on the agenda for the evening.
I second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. On to the first reading of board policy.
8.
Oh, I marked it off because we did number 7 early. Okay, this one is number 8, approval of the nomination of Mark Watson from the Hillsborough School District and Karen Emerson, Tiger Tualatin School District as an alternate for the MPAC governing bodies of the school district position member. This is 2 school board members in these districts. It's not just some person. It's a school. They're school board members that have volunteered to do this MPAC, be on this MPAC governing body, and that is a Metro Council. And I sent out an email a long time ago, July, August, asking anybody on our board if we wanted to do it, and you know, it was crickets. And so these 2 lovely people, I think that the Metro lady had to actually pester people a little bit because these people didn't step forward right away either. So you have a little thing in your packet about these people. Okay. If we could have a motion to approve the nomination for Mark Watson from Hillsborough School District as the school district position member, and Karen Emerson as the alternate.
So moved.
Can I get a
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. I have just been reminded that we didn't actually vote and approve the auditor's report. So Pat probably would like it if we did that little piece of business. So can I get a motion to approve the auditor's report?
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion beyond the fact that I forgot to do it and I had to get a note?
Pat didn't even remind you. So.
Yeah. Discussion? Anyone? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. There you go. That's what I get for marking stuff off my list early. Okay, now we are on to number 9, first reading of board policy. This is Ken and I just want to say that a lot of these policies, this is a first read, we're not voting on anything. A lot of these policies are legal updates that we've been given. And when we discussed it, we decided there's a lot of policies that are called highly recommended. If we already had a policy in place for a highly recommended, we are showing you the update. Otherwise, it just says highly recommended policy here. So, Ken, you want to?
Yeah, you bet. So you have 2 packets. One is current policy that shows that those are all current policies, and really what it is updates from OSBA. The highly recommended or required has to do with the actual policy. The recommendation for updates, some are required and some are highly recommended, same thing, and I can clarify that as we go through. Again, at this point, they're first readings. They're all policies we have. Other than the second packet you have, we delineated that is an actual new policy, and those are highly recommended. So that policy itself, it's less about just a sentence change or a word change. It would be, do you want that policy or not? So what we've tried to do as a leadership team is go through and we're asked for recommendations like superintendent, board, this sentence, that sentence. We've tried to clean that up to give our recommendations, and now it's before the board in the first reading. And obviously, if at any time tonight, or as you read through them in the next month, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to come my way with them. And obviously, we'll see them in a second read and hopefully a vote next month.
And just a further comment on the new policy one, which is the skinny packet. The very first one, the policy GCBP or PB / GDPB, that's tongue twistery. The version we have right now is version 1, and it's no longer supported by OSBA, and so they've given us version 2. So in this packet, even though they're new policies, we have a policy. It's just they're recommending that we switch them to this newer version. So just so you know that. Do you have comments, Kyle?
Yeah, just real quick. EEA 1 is just at least as far as I can read it, there's an or that should be an of. If you look here, the bottom red,
Uh-huh.
it says that the final grade served by the school or origin, the term school of origin.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in that one also, and this may not be necessary. I mean, everybody else may read it this way. But on the second page, the third paragraph down, this one here,
Mm-hmm.
it starts out, school buses carrying students will be considered extensions of the school experience. Later in the policy, it says that each school bus or school activity vehicle, and as you read the policy, school activity vehicle we may want to consider adding school activity vehicle to that first sentence because it's an exclusionary look without it. We're saying school buses are this, and then in the rest of the policy, we're saying school buses and school activity vehicles are this. It's worth just running by OSBA. That was that one. And then just a question in JHC. Let me find it. I have it here. It's the back one.
Which one is it? JFC?
Me, JFC?
No, the new one, JHC.
Oh, J. Okay.
I'm sorry.
okay.
Yeah, smaller
You switched-
packet.
you switched
I apologize.
Okay.
Went through it, totally meets every criteria I could ever think of, looking at the differences between, and it even calls it out with the little note at the very bottom, talking about there are some examinations that this does not cover because you don't need parental consent for those, and those would be mainly done through our partners at the health center.
Mhm.
I just had a question, and you can get back to me, but in number 8, in this paragraph right here,
Mhm.
it goes on and on and on, but part of it says, or screening that is required as a condition of attendance. So, well, basically, let me just read it. It says, the district recognizes its responsibility to notify parents in advance of any non-emergency invasive physical examination, which then has the note,
Mhm.
or screening that is required as a condition of attendance. Is there one?
Yeah. Is there any?
I mean, I understand the purpose of the policy, but is there currently a non-emergency invasive physical examination or screening that is required as a condition of attendance that you can, just off the top of your head, and I don't expect it.
Do any of our? Yeah.
So I'm thinking, and I don't think, I mean, obviously vaccinations, but those aren't screenings, so I can't think of.
You know, they do eye tests, but that's
But that-
not
but you can opt.
required.
Yeah, you can
for-
opt on that.
Yeah.
So, so it was.
I'll
it's-
reach out to
yeah, if
OSBA
you
and
could
see what
find
they
out,
meant.
'cause it's there for a reason.
Yeah.
Right, and I just curious what
We would,
possible
what we,
reason it could be.
yeah, what physical exam we would do that's,
Well, it
or
doesn't
screening that's required condition of attendance.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the part.
It wouldn't be because, yeah, because that's, yeah. Without.
Because we don't make
So
people
anyway,
have
if
some sort
just
of exam.
if you
to
if
come
we
to
could ask
school.
of them,
Yeah.
they wrote it that way for a reason, and I seriously can't think of what it is. So, but the rest of them I was fine with.
We changed our lice policy.
Mm-hmm.
So, because technically they used to check your head. So in some ways there was a screening before they let the kid back in.
Could be. Yeah.
Who knows?
Those are mine. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Just really happy to see the addition of comprehensive sex abuse prevention in the. That's an important issue to me.
Yeah.
I think it was required by statute,
Yeah,
but
but-
it's nice to see it in the policy.
And Madam Chair, quick reminder, the yellow are ARs. They'll be at first reading. They won't be at second because the board doesn't adopt ARs, the administrative rules. So just a reminder on those.
Anything else on this? Okay, so next month we'll have second reading when we'll vote, so make sure you look over those and let us know if you have any comments or questions. Okay, subcommittee reports. Bond committee. Probably, I haven't heard any burbling of anything even happening at this point in time. Do you have?
So yes, a little bit. We have put out the RFP. right now to look at support around bond planning and community input. So that's really where we're at right now. Once we get the RFP back in, that's when the committee will meet again and we'll take the next steps to kind of talk about where we're at in that process and start the conversation around timeline.
Any comments beyond that? Okay. Equity Committee? Do you guys want to say something?
We are working to find a time where we can meet, and I think that it's going to be, I think we're going to come to the point where we just simply need to meet whether everybody can be there or not.
And to be clear, this isn't the equity committee. This is the board talking about
Yes.
what the process is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I apologize.
That's okay. I just don't want people to get
No,
confused that
exactly.
we're,
Yeah.
like, you and I were the equity committee.
No, well, I mean,
And this is conversation also with Kelly and others.
Yeah. I do think you just need to move forward, and you're just not going to be able to get everybody at the same time.
It has proven difficult. So I guess my thought would be, and that everybody isn't here, but Kelly, if you would give it one more shot and highest attendance possible, we'll go with it.
I'm fine with just a call-in conference committee.
Mm-hmm. Certainly, yeah, I agree.
Okay. Okay, on to other business and future agenda items. I emailed 3 board members this morning, yesterday afternoon, about budget committee members. We do have the budget process coming up in the spring. And generally what happens is community members apply to be on the budget committee in a term. And do you guys remember how long the term is?
3 years.
3 years. And then once their term's up, usually we ask them if they want to continue. If they don't, then we put something out on the website and ask for community members that are interested to be on the budget committee to, send their materials in so that we can fill that committee out. Usually it's one community member associated with one board member is how it usually works. And in this particular period, we have 3 expired terms where I think it's Bryce, Frida, and Kyle need to check with the person that's in the position if they're continuing or not. Because we need to vote on that, on the committee makeup in January.
In January?
Well, usually we do it in December, but it got pushed out last time to
okay.
January because of the snow, and we just kept it there. So that needs to happen. I wanted to give a reminder that tomorrow the high school has invited the school board to their winter assembly. That if you're going to go, you need to be there about 8:45 at the office. Check in at the main office at about 8:45. That'll be the assembly, and then a tour of the school. And then for those that have time, lunch in the Kilt, which is our student-run cafe. So it should be
fun.
It should be fun, and it's also a good way for our students, especially our Anwar and the rest of our student governing folks, to kind of showcase what they do. So it should be good. So I'm looking forward to that. I know Frida and I will be there. Who else is going? Kyle will be able to attend. So okay. And so that'll be good. Just a reminder about that. And another reminder about
And I'll be wearing my shirt.
You'll be wearing your shirt?
Yeah, they decided we have to wear a shirt.
Okay, I'll wear a shirt. I'll put my shirt on, and this bracelet's on my daughter's hydro flask every day, so I see that all the time. And then on the 12th, we have a board workshop, and there will be some sort of dinner-y thing.
I won't be there.
Yeah.
I won't be there for dinner, but I'll be there on time for the workshop.
Okay. So that's happening. I think, what else? 4:30's dinner.
5 o'clock workshop.
Because we're all senior citizens, we eat dinner at 4:30.
No,
I just had to say it. I'm sorry to any senior citizen that eats at 4:30. My mom does it, I'm sure. But it's just really early for dinner for me. oftentimes eat like at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So, anyways, so that's all happening, and I think we have another bargaining session with our certified staff on Monday, and I think I will be able to be there. So,
Oh, good. That's during the day.
yeah,
Sound good.
for part of it, I have to pick my son up at the Bolt bus now.
Well, that's what you said. That's what
Yeah.
you make it.
So does anybody else have other business, Stephanie?
I think I would like to see early next year presentation by some of the parents and the folks who are working on community gardens in the district with some ideas and some of the work that they've been doing through Sun and through some of our partnerships. I think it's a good update to have.
And it's another one of those places where if we can figure out what's working well at one school and help the other schools, because Stephanie knows when we toured our schools before school started this year, some of the a couple of gardens looked good, but most of them looked like my backyard, which is not a good thing. It's all weedy.
And there could be some good connection too with some of the things that Heather talked about earlier that are happening in the schools with the food banks and others.
Yep. So that sounds
We can learn how to can.
Oh, I know how to do that.
I can give you instructions.
Other business or future agenda items? Anyone? Okay. Board member reports. Kyle, you can go first.
Nothing this time.
Okay. Andrea?
I just have a random thought that I'm thinking as I'm preparing for my own winter. For winter in general, and remembering. I'll just share a quick story, I guess. How about that? So I think Ken already knows what story I'm going to share. Last year when we had a board meeting, I got caught in the snow, unprepared as a Portlander, with no snow shovel or appropriate chains on my tires, and it was pretty difficult. So I am trying to do my best to be proactive this winter and get prepared sooner, and get snow shovels, which are real apparently, and
Yes, they are.
the right chains. And so if folks are able to pool resources or kind of share, that's what we're going to do in our household, that would be I think just helpful. We want to make sure that folks are really safe and doing everything that they can to best prepare for this winter. Hopefully nothing happens, but in the event that it does, don't get caught like I did with a really ridiculous shovel. That's all.
Yes, and I will say I am terrified of driving in the snow, and I will never do it. So I am doing everybody a favor by staying off the street. Huh?
And you're from Missouri?
Yeah, but I don't do snow driving. So I will stay home. I will call in. I will telecommute. I will do whatever. I'm not getting out of my driveway. It's just not going to happen. If there's like an inch. So
I'm the one who was raised in California, and it does bother me to drive in it.
I did buy a snow shovel after last year, but after it happened, not before. Bryce, do you have any?
Just to wish my fellow board members, the staff, and the community Merry Christmas, and I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday. I realize we'll meet again, we'll see each other, but probably won't see all of these people. I just want to make sure everybody knows that from the Anderson household, we wish you all Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Stephanie?
I just wanted to let you know that the Menlo Park Booster Club will be buying their own disaster preparedness classroom materials, because we don't know yet what's up with that with the district. But once we have contracts and we understand what the budget is, and I do think that it should be a priority of the district to ensure that every classroom has some basic supplies in case there's a lockdown and a lock-in for whatever reason. Could be earthquake, could be Mount Hood blows up, could be something I don't want to mention. But whatever it is, I think that kids should be able to use the bathroom, should be able to have a snack and some water. And but we don't know when a disaster is going to hit. So as far as Menlo Park goes, we're going to do it right now.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because when my son, who's almost 22, was in elementary school and Susan Garretts was the principal at Ventura Park, as part of their things they brought the first week of school, they actually brought a Ziploc baggie, and it had a bottle of water and a snack and a small toy and a garbage bag. And that was like their own little emergency kit in case something happened. And they never had to use it. It always came home at the end of the year. But it made me think, especially when a couple of winters ago, those kids in Seattle had to spend the night at school, how helpful that would have been if they'd had something like that. Yeah, so I think having a kit of some sort would be helpful.
I think Darla might have some thoughts on that too from last winter.
Please hook us up with that Girl Scout. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, the city has a program also for people who want to be involved in emergency preparedness. In fact, one of our East Portland people with EPAP, Jeremy, kind of runs it for the city, so he's really a push on that.
I think there's a long waiting list to get the training for that. Is this the one where your community members are getting trained to help their neighbors in case of a earthquake or emergency?
Let me tell you, he is so gun-ho on this that I bet you if someone wanted him to come speak about it, he would gladly do it. I've never saw anyone so excited about that kind of project. And stuff.
Do you have anything else, Stephanie?
Nope.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, just a couple of things. Forgot to mention, it's been so long ago that we went to OSBA conference here downtown. Christine and Anna and I attended. Also, I've been spending a lot of time bargaining the last month or so. But we had some exciting news. I think I mentioned last year that Richard Cole, retired administrator, had passed away. And he put the DDF, the foundation, in his will. And prior to that, he actually met with the president of DDEF, Bev Fisher, and we wrote up a program on how his money would be spent. And we were quite honored because Richard only was in the school district 9 years. He spent most of his career in Portland, but he felt this district was a family. And he started out that fund with about $13,000, and we just received a check for just over $51,000 today to add to it. It'll be endowed, so the earnings off it is, the program is, instead of giving scholarships that so many do, him and his wife wanted to help pay for, they want kids to stay in school, and they figure the K through 8 is when you need to encourage them, but often our students don't have funds to go to a camp or go to a class or go to a workshop that would really encourage them, say if they're interested in science or whatever. So that is what these funds are going to be used for. It goes to Barb Kingley's office, and requests are made, and we have a few little criteria that has to be filled out. We gave our first one last year, but we're just getting started. We're hoping. It has taken a year to get that money. I won't tell you why, but it's taken a year to get the money. But we're hoping over the years it'll earn enough that we can be funding a lot of workshops and classes and things for kids in the schools. So I was just finally glad to receive the funds. And that's it.
Okay. And for my report, I did go to see Shrek, like I said I would. I actually went twice. Because it was just so wonderful. And the first night I went, I did go to see the band, and I sat right in front of the band and waved to the band members I knew and was properly admonished by my child later on. And then the second night I went and I mean, I did see the whole thing, but I sat like really close to the band.
I don't know why you wanted
second
to
row,
sit there.
second row, right in front of the band. And then the next time I sat further back, and it's just really fabulous how hard these students work, how hard the adults work with them to put on these really great shows. It's, like I said, it's just far and above beyond anything we did in my high school and the little town I lived in. So I'm just always really impressed with our kids. And the fact that a teenager would get up in front of people and sing and move around and stuff, I mean, I would be terrified. So I guess I'm super shy in some respects. Obviously, I talk a lot, but you know, I would not get up in front of people and perform. So I'm really in awe of them. So.
Well, I'd like to add to that because I also went and saw it. But I also had an opportunity last year at Christmas time to see it at the Children's Theater, and our kids did a better job. Let me tell you, hands down, their performance was outstanding, and my granddaughter really enjoyed it. And the man next to us did. I don't think he stopped laughing through the whole thing. So, but they did an excellent job. I have to agree.
Okay. Is there anything else? All right.